Thank you, Hashim. Hi, everyone. I am Mariam Tour, and I am working as an infrastructure manager with SPS for the past 3 years. And today I am going to give you a high-level overview of a very interesting application of machine learning, which is chatbots, along with a brief discussion of its various use cases and its development lifecycle. Okay, as we all know, chatbot is a piece of software designed to converse with an end user to resolve a query. Bots are mainly composed of NLP to help understand natural language. They also rely on machine learning to train and learn so that they can converse with humans. At times, bots also interface with external systems to formulate their answers. Okay, so at SPS, we have worked on several bots over the years, and here are a few examples that we have created over the past few years and how they have helped organizations cut their costs. Starting with Cody. Chatbot Cody was deployed on the client website in year 2017. The client Lasership is a regional last mile delivery company that services the Eastern and Midwest United States. Cody was developed to make it easier for the customer care center employees to handle the number of calls from the customers. The calls had increased from 75,000 to 150,000 per month, and the company did not have the resources to scale. It cost them around 75,000 missed tickets. Therefore, the client required an authentic, credible, and effective response to the customer's requests in the form of an efficient chatbot application. The solution we provided was a friendly bot, Cody, that through a text interface would answer any query within seconds. Uh, we implemented the MVP on the IBM Cloud Platform using the Watson Conversation API to handle the natural language interaction between the human users and the system. The backend of the application needed to interface with the Lasership dispatching application to retrieve and update live data. Uh, Also, in cases where the automated systems cannot address the customer's query, the system transferred the end user to a live person in the call center. From the user perspective, this transition occurs in a graceful manner that does not impact the customer experience. So, Cody helped Lasership in improved customer service, reduction in human errors, cost saving, and regular monitoring of consumer data and gaining insights. Next one is the Brightbot, which we developed in 2019 for the client Brightmap. They have a comprehensive software solution for all cannabis businesses. Brightmap was basically seeking a chatbot solution for initial interface with the users on their website and to bring entire business operations to one unified center. The solution that we provided was a keyword recognition based bot that provides an initial interface to its users for answering their queries. The chatbot was enhanced iteratively to maximize its potential and give the best return on investment to Brightmap. Uh, Brightmap, uh, for this project, we used an agile format with milestones broken into 2-week sprints. Next one is Amy, which is my favorite. Each year, IBM organizes the Watson Build Challenge, where IBM partner companies submit solutions for an opportunity to exhibit them at Partner World. In 2018, the SPS AI team reached the final round in the Watson Build Challenge with their product Amy, which is my AI friend. Amy is an interactive device that can talk and hold conversation with people via voice user interface. Amy was created as a friendly companion for people suffering from depression and loneliness. Uh, SPS was successful in receiving special recognition award for social justice at Watson Build 2018 for the chatbot Amy. Let me share the main features of Amy, which were Number one, it is a speech to text based bot that lies in your home and helps you overcome negative feelings by engaging its users in different conversations. It also keeps track of the things it learns about a person over time and molds her suggestions and conversations accordingly. The initial development process for the AMI entailed considerable research and modeling, for which the development team not only did months of academic research on the subject, but also met with SMEs, psychiatrists, and psychologists, and they simulated therapy sessions to understand how counselors help patients. The team then used this data as well as research on the existing online counseling applications to craft the prototype. Amy, the Amy chatbot also can tap into a number of external services such as the weather APIs, online music, books, movie databases, sports APIs, news and current event APIs, etc., to generate conversations with the users. Also, by leveraging IBM's NLU service, Amy is capable of understanding users' responses. Each response is categorized based on user sentiment, and then Amy responds accordingly. Moreover, based on cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT, our system can identify various negative thoughts a user might express. And another chatbot that SPS developed was the academic partnership chatbot. It was in the year 2019. The client academic partnership is an online educational platform that helps universities with online courses and programs and students recruitment and retention. Academic partnership basically was seeking a chatbot solution to assist with the enrollment process of their nurses to Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. The initial solution that we provided to them was to assist with students' enrollment in their nursing program. In order to do so, we provided training, instructions, and advice to enable academic partnership to build a chatbot. And during the initial engagement, the client requested further assistance in extracting the chatbot conversations for staff follow-up. Therefore, we enabled emailing the conversations using secure channel that automatically send the extracted conversations to the client's designated staff on an hourly basis. Coming to the next section, which is how we bought. So the SPS team makes sure to fashion quality assured solution, and for that the team has devised a procedure that yields a high grade product. The procedure passes through several iterations to finally produce a chatbot that meets all the desired objectives. As you can see, here is a life cycle of a chatbot implementation procedure entailing names of the steps involved in the development of bot. Coming to the first step, which is a requirement. So basically, the first step in the life cycle is the dreaming up phase. And there are 3 major tasks in this requirement gathering phase. Number 1 is to determine the role of the bot and set goals, which means before you start anything, identify what you want your bot to do and be specific. Doing this upfront will lead to a chatbot that can deal with the majority of topics your contact center handles today, including strategies on how to handle unknown answers to questions. To start, consider a modest goal that matches your customer service philosophy. Is the initial plan to provide great responses to a limited set of questions with high confidence, or to handle a broader base of topics to satisfy customer needs? Eventually, both goals can be met, but there will be learning and refining which will happen once a chatbot is available for your customers to use. Next task is to pick the channel, which is Is it going to be text-based or a voice-based? Will it reside on your website or on the mobile? Will it need to be integrated into your existing IVR? Will adding this experience add enough new value that it justifies the investment? Finally, are there any existing APIs or data that can be used to support the customer experience with your bot? So after defining the requirements, the next step in the cycle is to write down these requirements as specifications, just like any software. Then comes the script. Just having a set of Q&A is not going to be enough. You need to create a conversational architecture. The chatbots are about a continuous conversation between the bot and the user, where the conversation between them can go in any direction. This needs to be mapped in terms of dialogue flow and storyboards. The whole conversation needs to be tracked because a message has no value in isolation. It only makes sense in terms of the whole flow of the conversation. As such, user messages can never be analyzed in complete isolation. They're part of a conversation and their context need to be maintained and determined. Another thing to think about while writing script is what kind of style will the bot have. Um, a reactive chatbot will sit back and wait for the users to ask questions. They are generally good for scenarios such as support, reservations, queries and complaints, schedule meetings, and customer inquiry handling. Whereas on the other hand, proactive uh, reach out to the users, asking questions, engaging and guides the users, uh, product related reminders, and they feature notifications, updates, and activates offers. Okay, so another question to think about is the personality of the bot, which is how do you give a chatbot a personality? Does it really need one? Should it be funny, cheeky, or robotic? Which personality will serve best given the sorts of conversation your chatbot might have? The personality of a chatbot is really the user experience of a chatbot. The first impression with regard to the look and feel of an application plays a major role in the customer using it, spreading information about it, and so on. There are so many factors that should be taken into consideration while designing the uh, persona of a chatbot. Number one is make it relevant, which is if the bot throws out some irrelevant answers, the bot is of no use. A chatbot's personality should really depend upon the industry for which it is going to be used in. The experience of the user should be as similar as he is talking to a person who is related to the domain. The next factor is to make it simple, interesting, and clear, which means a chatbot should have an interesting bag of words. Also, depending on the domain, it can vary from being casual to professional. For an instance, if you are designing a bot for a salon, casual and friendly language should be used, and whereas for a bank, uh, a professional and a formal diction could be used, which ideally can attract the client, making sure to provide them the best experience. And the third factor is to make it continuous, which means the user should not at any moment feel like he's talking to a machine, but an alive person. Uh, what I mean here is not to pretend like a human, but to make the bot sound like the one so that the user is comfortable enough to continue the conversation. The choice of language style should have the ability to continue a steer conversation from hello to goodbye. The user should not be left clueless at any point. The next step is the architect. This step basically involves the creation of the engineering design of the bot. This includes both the front end and the back end component. Um, the front end refers to the conversational interface, translating users' input into specific actions and vice versa, whereas the backend refers to the computation performed by the bot, as well as integration with the other web services. Uh, then comes the development phase. In this stage, this is the stage where the bot is subjected for implementation and coding. Given the conversational interface, bot developers will find themselves iterating a lot more between the coding and testing than in traditional software development. Then comes the testing phase. Testing is very crucial step for the chatbot. Uh, the application with different beta users can help standardizing and refining the conversations to be more realistic and relevant. Hence, this phase shall be given a significant amount of attention and importance. Then comes the deploy stage. Once the bot is built, it must be deployed to a hosted environment. The hosted environment must be stable and it needs its own monitoring and development support. And once the bot is deployed, it needs to be published on various app stores and making it accessible to its users around the globe. Then coming to the monitoring of a bot. Most companies think of monitoring as just the ops monitoring, which means is the bot running or not? This is not just ops monitoring. Monitor how the actual users are engaging with the bot. Um, the ops monitoring may indicate systems are well, but the bot may still be unresponsive to certain user conversations. The best way to monitor the bot is to monitor the user conversations. And once your bot is alive, you need to use various advertisement channels to promote your chatbot. And then comes the analysis part, which is the most valuable aspect of a chatbot and the most overlooked one as well. Analysis helps not only the bot, but the business it's serving to. As the bot starts being used, its performance must be tracked and results analyzed. This involves to review both conversation logs and usage metrics. The KPIs that you need to track will often vary based on the use case of the chatbot and the demographics of the user base. However, several key metrics will provide valuable insights for just about any chatbot. Here are some metrics. Uh, Starting with the user matrix, the first one is total users. This is the most basic metric. It basically captures the number of people using your chatbot. This matters because it its trend shows the change in the number of users and therefore the amount of data your chatbot has been exposed to. Also, this would provide critical information regarding the market size calculations and potentially the effect of your chatbot. The next one is active users. Uh, they can be defined as the people who read a message in the chatbot in a defined time frame. Uh, this is your potential targets. Measuring the potential effects of a promotional activity can be estimated from from this number. Uh, the number of people who read your message is very critical. This is something like the promotional content on the social media. Engagement is not guaranteed, but content is seen by the people. Then comes the engaged users. These are the ones who communicate with the chatbot. They receive and send messages. They are likely to shape your decision regarding the effectiveness of the chatbot. And it doesn't make any sense if the chatbot is not able to start conversation with users. Then comes the new users. This metric uh, basically captures the overall success of the chatbot promotion campaigns. Uh, New users will be necessary to keep an active user numbers. Then coming to the message metrics, first one is bot messages, which are the total number of messages sent by the chatbot in each interaction. This measures the length of a conversation between the customer and the chatbot. We normally want the number of messages to be high, but there is one critical condition. Our chatbot needs to respond correctly. In case of misunderstanding or failure to comprehend the input by the user, the chatbot will say similar words repeatedly. Uh, then comes the in messages. This category shows the messages sent by the user. We need to see whether the user engages in with the chatbot or not. If this category is significantly low, we don't need to use a chatbot, which means using regular social media such as a Facebook page or a Twitter account may make more sense rather than using a Facebook Messenger chatbot or a voice assisted technology. Missed messages are the ones our chatbot cannot process. This metric may be very, very hard to calculate. Then comes the total conversations, which are the number of conversations started and successfully completed on a given day. New conversations are the number of new conversations started. This captures both the inexperienced users and the conversations that are initiated by the returning users on a different matter, problem, or anything. Coming to the bot metrics, the first one is retention rate. This is basically the percentage of users that return to using the chatbot on given time frame. This is very important since we need to keep the customer engaged to exact valuable insight regarding the customer's preferences by making them spend time on the chatbot. Higher retention rate can be achieved by promotional campaigns such as chat to receive discount or a lottery like a word guessing games. The important is keeping that high through an organic process. This mostly can be achieved by providing a high quality chatbot that meets locations and needs. Then we have GCR. This captures the percentage of successful engagement through the chatbot. Uh, Users will probably try to reach different information or surveys uh, for an e-commerce, for example, for an e-commerce company, what relevant goals can be informing users about a product's details or purchasing a product. This shows that the number of times our bot successfully processed the input and provided the asked information. Next comes the fallback rate. Uh, no robot is perfect. Therefore, chatbots are expected to fail sometimes. But what really matters is those failures happen regularly or in some extreme cases. Fallback rate basically captures that information. It is the percentage of times our chatbot failed or experienced a near failure situation. And our aim should be to minimize this since we need a chatbot that replaces humans such as customer service, representative, salesperson, etc. When we experience a high fallback rate, it might be right to try finding new data sources or training sets for improving the performance. The last one is the user satisfaction. A new metric can be defined through the exit surveys. Customers or the people engaging with the chatbot can rate their experience to achieve further product excellence. This can be implemented as a binary variable such as did the bot perform well? Yes or no? Um, or we can create more complex evaluation forms to rank and provide points for each different category. This metric would uh, capture the overall effectiveness of the bot from the user experience point. Yes, from the user experience point and directly provided by the user. Okay. In general, predictive analytics is all about observing and analyzing the ongoing facts and to predict about the future. Even simple observations to chatbot data can address the business queries such as what is happening in the context of customer behavior. Further, the analytic can help in finding out why it is happening and what may happen next. Uh, as you can see, this is a basic report displaying the key queries indicators of a user journey leading to a notable user preference insights over the time. And this is the analytics reports of a cab booking chatbot application, which is helping the organization in understanding their user behaviors. A decreasing ratio of returning user informs the company about the need of service improvements and requirement of any loyalty programs. Finally, uh, after observing the engagement of the potential customers, the chatbot should be continuously be refined to serve the customers better. This means once you build a chatbot, you just cannot forget it. If you are expecting it to bring in more sales or customer or give your customers a better experience. The learnings from the analyze phase needs to be cycled back into the bot development process to build an ever improving bot. And as it takes a village to raise a child, so here are all the resources required to build a chatbot, which include project managers, NLP, SMEs, solution architect, and all others. Um, what better way to understand chatbots usage than to look at the actual usage of these in the industry? Okay, Apollo Hospital is the largest integrated private hospital group in Asia, with expertise in managing hospitals, clinics, health insurances, healthcare IT, and many more. How does Apollo use bots? On their website, you can book appointments while going through an interactive conversation. The bot asks you a few questions about your health problem before deciding who will be the appropriate doctor for your illness. Given their huge traffic of the website, Apollo bot does more than 10K appointments per day. Leads packet bot. It allows the students to have an online conversation to assess their suitability for undergraduate courses. The bot uses keywords that the students type in the chat line to assess which courses they're interested in studying. Then it requests details of their qualification and exam results before making them a provisional offer. For this university, picking chatbot helped them in saving more than $3.1 million. Here is another example. KLM offers you to receive your flight documentations via Messenger. After booking your flight on klm.com, you can choose to receive your booking confirmation, check-in information, a boarding pass, and flight status updates via Messenger. This makes your travel information easy to find in a single place, available at the airport or at home. Consumers find KLM bot use very useful because it eliminates the needs to carry any documents and give you real-time updates about your flight. For me, the most interesting point in that KLM did not try to turn the bot into book my flight through Messenger because it is not the ideal thing to do. What they did, it is they make the customer experience better post booking the flight. Okay, now without really meaning to beat up on RBC, this is one of the great example of far of a chatbot may turn out to be. The bank is trying to offer advice to guide their customers, leaving open a search bar where visitors can enter their queries. Their UI is a bit clunky, and they fail to give the feel of a conversation. RBC is basically just automating their FAQs and sitemaps, helping the user find what they were looking for, which a simple search button could have done too. Interestingly, all the while they made their contact information to speak with the human pretty easy to find. The UX of a chatbot is very much essential. A chatbot needs to let the user feel that they can converse. Remember, it need to be likable, provide information that a user is looking for, and not just automate the FAQs. Uh, Having said all of this, I would like to conclude with saying that to build a bot is very easy. There are a number of APIs out there which make it really easy to build one. Um, you can even have a weekend mini project if you get down to it. But to build a great bot is hard. It requires thought, planning, right people, right resources, right platform, and yet it's here that lies all the value. Uh, Thank you so much. And here are some links which can help you start your journey of building a bot. Over to you, Hashim.
Thank you very much, Mariam. This was a great session, and I think we have covered it all. I mean, if anybody in the universities is interested, actually, that's one of the area that the group that Mariam works in specializes in is writing chatbots for academia. And so if in fact if any one of you would like to, maybe get on a call to understand more, because in Pakistan there are educational institutions that could be very small, but then there are universities that have like 30,000 students. And for an LMS to deal with the queries of such a large number of students and having a workforce trained in the customer in the customer response journey, it's an uphill task, and a chatbot sort of provides that solution in that niche that it helps you speed up the things. So we'll be sharing these learning links with the audience here, in case you are interested in learning how to develop, or maybe if you're interested in doing one for your university. So with this, uh, so if there are any questions or queries for Mariam, please feel free to unmute yourself. And if not, that's fine. You can always reach out to us at spinnlabs@sbsnet.com. We'll be happy to.
Sorry, Assalamu alaikum.
Yes,
I'm Hashim Akmal from a
Jay.
public sector university. It was a really informative discussion by Miss Mariam. I'm really thankful to her, as well as the whole team of SPINN Labs. So,
जी,
my interest, जैसा कि आपने भी बात की है, तो chatbots, yes, एक important necessity बनती जा रही है for our customers. Actually, यूनिवर्सिटी में हमारे मेन स्टेक होल्डर्स स्टूडेंट्स हैं for getting admission, and after admission there are a lot of academic queries, plus might be some specific queries as well. तो अगर मैं इस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू पे सोचें हम कि कैसा चैटबॉट बनाया जाए जो परहैप्स एक जनरल चैटबॉट हो एकेडेमिया के लिए, प्लस कुछ स्पेसिफिक रिक्वायरमेंट्स भी कवर की जा सकती हैं उसमें। तो मैं ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड इस बात में हूँ, वेब आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट वेब बेस्ड चैटबॉट। सो आई एम मोर इंटरेस्टेड कि कौन से टूल्स, प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेजेस, टेक्नोलॉजीज डेवलपमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से में ज़रूरी है जानना, सीखना, प्रैक्टिस करना। और सेकेंडली फिर उसकी अपस्किलिंग कैसे होगी लेटर ऑन, और कुछ इस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से कुछ डिस्कस किया जा सकता है। ओवर टू यू।
Yes, yes. Thank you, Haseeb, and thank you for your comments. आप किस यूनिवर्सिटी से?
I am from Virtual University of Pakistan. It's an
Virtual University.
basically distance learning system है, तो हमारे बहुत से स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं, thousands of students.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. जी मरियम, you wanted to say something?
हसीब, जैसे कि आपने पूछा, basically there are four main contenders when it comes to the enterprise level chatbots, which are Microsoft Louis, Google Dialogflow, Amazon Lex, and IBM Watson. और जितना हमने R&D की है, तो generally these four are more or less the same. So basically, there are no major players amongst them. But we use SPS at SPS. We use IBM Watson since our experience with NLP side of things on Watson has been great. And also, Watson acquired Alchemy API a few years ago, which had some very powerful NLP capabilities, and those have now become an integral part of the Watson as well. So, जैसे कि आपने पूछा where to start, हमने कुछ links भी आपको provide किए हैं, जो कि आपको help कर सकते हैं। और जैसे कि मैंने सेशन में भी बताया कि ये एक iterative process है। Chatbots जितनी ज़्यादा conversations होंगी, आप उनको analyze करोगे और फिर वो उससे बेहतर होते जाते हैं।
या वो तो मशीन लर्न या सेकंड यू एक्चुअली ये मशीन लर्निंग प्रोसेस है, उससे मशीन जो है वो लर्न करती है बाय इनपुट और रिस्पांस, इम्प्रूव करती है। यस, सो जहाँ तक मैं समझा आपकी बात, यू आर मोर रिलाइंग ऑन IBM टेक्नोलॉजीज फॉर AI एक्चुअली। वॉटसन मशीन मेरा ख्याल है उस पे आपका आप ज़्यादा फोकस करेंगे डेवलपमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, क्योंकि आई एम श्योर वहाँ बड़ा एक रोबस्ट और स्केलेबल आर्किटेक्चर होगा। डेवलपमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से टूल्स टेक्नोलॉजीज सारी होंगी, आई एम श्योर।
If I can maybe jump in here. So thank you, Mariam, for addressing the question. इसमें Haseeb, in business, it's when we are developing these for a customer, it is driven by the customer's own preferences also to some extent. And by that, what I mean is, if the customer is using a certain OEM technology stack, they would want to not really rock the boat in the sense they have another vendor, another technology stack, and that is then usme interoperability issues and so on. So a lot of these choices of what you use is driven by the customer's own architecture and the infrastructure that you are using. But yes, I mean, IBM has been one of the focus areas for Mariam and her team, and they have built this very focused skill set around that. So, in fact, if you would like to carry on this conversation, I would love to get a call with you after this session whenever you're available.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू।
And
Assalamu alaikum.
Ji walaikum salam.
This is Mohammad Rafi from National University Fast Karachi campus. I just have a quick question regarding the monitoring of the conversational content of the chatbot. I just want to know how much it is covered in the data protection realm, and how what sort of data is available for doing this conversational analysis.
Mariam, would you like to take this question?
I'm so sorry. Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, on the chatbot monitoring front, you said that conversational monitoring is also a doable proposition. So I want to know whether the data protection or the privacy concerns are there in the conversational data or content, and how much this is crucial for the customer point of view or for the application point of view.
So essentially, your question is regarding data privacy and Mariam.
जी, definitely. In monitoring of the data, data privacy एक बहुत major aspects है और इसको हम cater करते हैं. Which I don't understand is, are you asking about the users' data or?
So conversational is data is along with some human who is like communicating with the chatbot. So there is some intention going on, or some messages there, or some problems there that is discussed on the chatbot. So I assume that this kind of data is there on the text written or voice data that is there on the archival server available. So कितना चैलेंजिंग है ये कि उससे किस तरह की इंफॉर्मेशन आप एक्सट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं और उसमें प्राइवेसी का कितना रोल है?
जी, इसमें Mariam, would you care for me to jump in?
जी, sure.
This is Hashim. So that's an excellent question, and I'm assuming that was Rafi Saab, that was you?
Yes, yes.
Ji, okay. So at the architecture of a chatbot, if we drill down a little bit, so when you're developing chatbot applications, there are different components of those applications. One component is the interface with the user. And that interface is like the old GUIs that we used to build, or the command line interfaces that we used. So chatbot is a more user-friendly rendering of the same communication with the user. There's a second component in a chatbot, which is a discovery component, which means that the question that a user asked, and the question that a user asked is like Mariam mentioned, where is my packet? You know, a user just ordered something and the packet is coming. So that is almost like a database query or some kind of a query into a structured or unstructured data. And when that query is made, usually the data protection comes into that module of the software. So you have asked an excellent question, and the way that works is that controlling access to data, whether it is the privacy of the user or anything else, is controlled by that module, which from this architectural perspective is a part of a different module. On the chatbot side, if you try to map it more from a user interaction perspective or user experience perspective, there are many other things that come into a chatbot, like not only are you using conversational English, but you may have to have a speech to text, or you may even have a speech translation to another language and then to text and to whatever. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but where I'm going with that is that absolutely information assurance, data security, privacy are indeed extremely important, but they're handled by a different component of the same application. And we can certainly, like Hashim mentioned, we'd be glad to elaborate on that for you, because there's several levels of information assurance. The first one is that can somebody access the data, whether it's relational data or whether it's assuming that the data that you're accessing is relational, then whether somebody can access the data or not. And secondly, based on the role of the user, can they access a certain column of that table? For example, somebody may see my salary but not my age. Somebody may see my age but not salary. But there are different tools that implement that. I don't want to belabor this point, but I hope I've answered your question.
Ji, thank you.
Most welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Rafi. Thank you, Ash. Any other questions or queries from anybody? I see, Dr. Rafi, your hand is raised. I don't know if you have another question, but
It was for the earlier one.
okay, that's good. So we did get some introduction from Hasib, and I understand that Hasib Saab comes from Versus University, and that's great. Dr. Rafi, I know you come from FAST University, and I want to give an opportunity to one of our regular attendees, Abdul Ghani Saab. Would you care to introduce yourself to the audience here?
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम
जी वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
जी आज की ये सर अच्छी थी
ये जो प्रेजेंटेशन हमने सुनी है, तो इसमें हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए तो मैं वही नोट कर रहा था कि जो बड़ा ज़बरदस्त एक आइडिया है, क्योंकि हमारी वर्चुअल यूनिवर्सिटी में ना काफ़ी ज़्यादा स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं। हमने इधर बैक एंड से बैक एंड जितनी भी बैठ के क्यूरीज वगैरह हमने उनकी डील करनी होती है। तो ये मेरे ख्याल में अगर इस तरह का एक स्टैंड लिया जाए और ये पूरा जितना बड़ा प्रोसीजर है एक अच्छा बोर्ड बना के, और जितनी भी क्यूरीज हैं टेक्स्ट की सूरत में, क्योंकि वॉइस तो उसमें नहीं आएगी मोस्टली, जितनी भी होगी वो उसको शायद डील कर पाए, लेकिन मोस्टली स्टूडेंट कुछ ऐसे भी होते हैं जो कि रोमन उर्दू के अंदर हम आम उर्दू में लिख के ना क्यूरीज सेंड कर देते, तो काफ़ी ज़्यादा इसमें मेरे ये है कि चीज़ें इश्यूज भी आएंगी, लेकिन वो वक्त के साथ मेरे ख्याल में जब मशीन लर्निंग की कुछ टेक्निक्स लगाई जाएंगी तो वो अपने आप को लर्न करता रहेगा। जी, फाइनल ये है कि बहुत अच्छी ये हमें इंफॉर्मेशन मिली है और आइडिया बहुत अच्छा है ये। थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, Vanessa. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's
एक्चुअली
जी
सॉरी,
हंसते
हम मेरे कोर्स में, बल्कि मैं आपसे थोड़ा आइडिया लेने की कोशिश करता हूँ। आपके ख्याल में मैं एक इंट्रोडक्टरी लेवल पे कंप्यूटर साइंस का कोर्स कंडक्ट करता हूँ वर्चुअल यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ पाकिस्तान में। मैं यहाँ 2010 से हूँ, लाहौर से बात कर रहा हूँ। तो व्हाट डू यू थिंक मेरे कोर्स में कितने स्टूडेंट होंगे? एनी रैंडम गेस प्लीज।
I know virtual university from the fact कि एक टाइम पे मैंने एक सर्टिफिकेशन के लिए enroll किया था, and I remember reaching out to somebody on the phone and उन्होंने कहा कि we have thousands and thousands of students, and वो चूंकि वर्चुअल मोड में होता है तो आपके LMS में anybody can go in. I think I still have access to your LMS in somewhere, and वो पड़े होते हैं वहाँ पे recording materials, and because they are there and the professor does not have to be there, so I'm sure कि इसके अंदर the access, it has to be a very vast number.
Yeah,
But,
so
but,
I
but
have
जी
yeah I have 29,000 active students in my course. 2,900, no, 29,000. So it's a
wow.
huge
That's
number that we are dealing with. So we are mentoring our students, we are academically guiding them, we are teaching them about the electronic distance learning system. VU claim itself to be the first e-learning university in South Asia, the pioneer one. पता नहीं ये बात कितनी हद तक दुरुस्त है, लेकिन कहते तो यही हैं। नंबर टू, अब हमें स्टूडेंट, क्योंकि लिटिल 10 years प्लस एक्सपीरियंस, तो बहुत सी क्यूरीज हमारे पास कोर्स से रिलेटेड आती हैं, academic queries, plus we have general queries in our introductory or flagship courses like introduction to computer that I am dealing with. हमारी को 18 बंदों की टीम है, 16 बंदों की। तो मैं यही सोच रहा था, इट वाज अ रियली नाइस टॉक मिस मरियम का, अगेन बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ मैं, वेरी इंफॉर्मेटिव वन, कि कोई इस तरह का चैटबॉट, लेकिन मैं इंडिविजुअल कैपेसिटी में बात कर रहा हूँ, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल कैपेसिटी एट दिस पॉइंट। लेटर ऑन बात की भी जा सकती है। मेरा ये आइडिया है कि कुछ सीखा जाए आपसे, और जैसे IBM वाटसन का आपने बताया, फिर भी ऐसा टूल डेवलप कर लिया जाए वेब बेस्ड चैटबॉट, इसको इंटीग्रेट करें हम अपनी मेन साइट के साथ, मेन वेबसाइट के साथ, प्लस फिर लेटर ऑन रजिस्टर्ड स्टूडेंट्स के लिए हम LMS के साथ इंटीग्रेट कर दें, और कोशिश करें पायलट प्रोजेक्ट के तौर पर उसको चलाएंगे एक आध सेमेस्टर कि हमारी जो क्यूरीज हैं फिर क्या रिस्पॉन्स है। इस तरह की कुछ रैंडम सी थॉट्स हैं।
No, these are
ओवर टू यू।
absolutely not, these are
Hashim,
certainly not random, and yes sir.
जी Hashim, इसमें I assume that was Dr. Akmal, Dr. Asib Akmal. तो इसमें I think what you're saying is spot on, and actually setting up chatbots for universities is a very common phenomena, because you have 29,000 students, and those two just in your class, and so maybe there are hundreds of thousands of students in the university, and most of the students have the same questions over and over again, and you may want to consider कि जो एक chatbot होता है, it's more like a frequently that वो जो fact का जो page होता है, frequently asked questions, and a lot of times what companies do is, or organizations do is, or universities do is, and in fact setting up chatbots in universities is big business in the US, because they do not want their people to have to answer the same question from the same student from tens of students over and over again. Second चीज जो आपने बात की कि could you set it up in your university? So chatbots have become so I like, for example, if these technologies are available from everybody, but assuming you wanted to use IBM Watson. So Watson has two specific applications that they provide to write chatbots and to write chatbots very quickly. The first one is called Watson Assistant. And you could literally spin up a chatbot in a day, believe it or not. Now remember, as I commented earlier, there are two pieces of chatbot. One is to interact with the user, and the second one is to take that natural dialogue that is happening between the user and the system or the application, translate that into a query that goes into some data repository. Now, the data repository could be a database, that could be an application, could be something. And there's another tool that IBM has called Watson Discovery, another application. The purpose of Watson Discovery is to help you discover an answer to that query from structured or unstructured data. It's an amazingly popular, not popular, powerful capability. So whether you need to go to an Oracle database or you need to go read a newspaper and from that extract, obviously newspaper is a bit of a stretch there. But what I'll do is, but Hashim can provide you information on both of these. In fact, Hashim, you may want to share that information with all the attendees. And there are very simple and quick tutorials. You'd be amazed that most probably your students can take these two things that I mentioned to you, and one is the assistant to help to assist you in creating that dialogue between a user or a student and the machine, and the second one is that once that dialogue has been established, to go get the answer for, because a dialogue always has a question, and then you go to a system and get the answer to that question, and that's where discovery comes in. So I think that not only would you find it fascinating, but it'll give your students a feeling of accomplishment when they can use these two capabilities within the Watson platform to be able to create chatbots. And I think the question earlier was very interesting. These days, we're seeing a lot of activity in the Middle East where they wanted to where they want to, this. Now remember this, the chat bot usually is a text to text. You text in your question and the system responds back to you in text. But it's possible that the person wants to speak to the system, in which case you would have to use the speech to text APIs to translate that speech, and not translate, but yeah, to transform that speech into text. Now that speech could be different language, so it could be that I'm speaking in Urdu, and but the system has to then first translate my Urdu into English, and then English into text, and then text into a query, and then that query is answered by the discovery. So it's a fascinating subject, and I think even some people are working on that Roman Urdu point that aapse pehle, there was a question that came up. So it's a fascinating area. It's an area that will make your students feel very, it gives you a feeling of accomplishment, but it solves that age-old problem where 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we used to use the VI editor. We have these cryptic commands, and then GUIs came, and now this is the next level where your ability to communicate with the system is not limited to a few keywords that the system has been programmed to parse and understand. Over to you, Hashim.
Thank you, Ash. I think, Hasib, does that answer your question?
Mhm. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, yes. Thank you.
Sure. Also, please share your email address in the chat window if that's possible for you. So I would like to, I would send out those links to you, unless you have already signed up with us as the faculty affiliate, in which case I would have your details already in the database, which I can find. But if not, just type in your email address in the chat window. So I see one new guest, Hassan Sayed. Sir, would you care to unmute and share with us about your interest in chatbots and AI? I see you're on mute, but that's okay. So with this, we can close this session. This would be the last session of this year on AI. And as we head into 2022, we are trying to bring new changes. So if you have any comments, feedback, or suggestions for us, we would welcome them, and you can always send those to us at spinnlabs@spsnet.com. Many of you may have my number, so I would welcome any calls in case you have time to really understand your feedback, because we would like to improve this going forward into 2022 and take it to the next level. So the next session on AI is going to be in January. Immediately in the coming next week, we have a session on cloud technologies. We have been doing a series on DevOps and microservices architecture. So stay tuned, and Emma Jaffer would be sharing with you some emails on that also. So unless there are any other questions or comments, we can close this session. And thank you everyone for joining. Have a nice evening.